right, it is a very bright Monday morning. Good to be back in studio. Yes, I thought I would find Anne Odida in studio, but she's taken a break, and that brings back the original crew. The original crew, Morning Cafe. Stanley Nyaringita is back. Karibu sana. Yes. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And it's definitely good to be back. I know you're very ready to rub it on my face how Manchester United lost it to Arsenal.
Yes.
But Leo, naomba,
thank you for making that announcement.
Naomba to focus on against all odds.
Anyway, even away from Manchester United, which lost terribly at home to the great Arsenal, we still have to celebrate Harambee Stars. They had already qualified for the quarterfinals, but they did it in style, winning 3 games, not losing even a single of their group matches. So congratulations, Harambee Stars. You did it. Now they're 3 million bob richer from yesterday, each one of them.
And they don't have to go to play in Tanzania. They remain at home.
At Kasarani.
At Kasarani.
Now they're looking forward to hosting Madagascar. If they'd gone to Tanzania, imagine they'll be facing Tanzania at home. Ingekuwa ngumu sana. Benjamin Mkapa Stadium. Tanzania versus Harambee Stars.
Wajirani wangenyamaza.
Anyway, you also go back in time for us to, because we had already started our Christmas countdown. 129 days left to Christmas. But then let's take a look at the headlines. A quick one on the Daily Nation: against all odds.
Insurance rip-off. That's something that you don't want to be seeing on a Monday morning.
People Daily: it's do or die. And that's, I think, one of the most interesting headlines this morning.
Kome Aponyoka will be telling you more about that.
Taifa Leo pale na on matters business, why Adani partner sold his elite Runda school for 130 shillings. You know, you might think it's a billion or million. 130 bob.
Yani basically ni ile price ya mkate ni 800 grams. Yes.
All right. On State of the Nation, we'll be having these 3 gentlemen: Kipruto Rapkirwa, Samuel Pogisio, and Kibe Mungai, discussing the big headlines this morning. Do stand by for that and a lot more. Let's cross over. Tuangalie wengine wanasema nini. And we start with the region, the East African.
The East African, they take a look at Sudan's Wars for Second Sudan cries for help. In a nutshell, aid agencies are raising the alarm over the threat of hunger and cholera in war-torn Darfur, where an RSF siege has left millions on the verge of death.
Now, the interesting thing is that I see a lot of Kenyans talking about what's happening in the Middle East, Israel, Gaza. But just a few hundreds of kilometers or 1,000 kilometers from here, a lot is happening in Sudan. We rarely talk about it. RSF, we find it on the front pages of our dailies, but we do not talk about the problem in Darfur and what the RSF is doing there. But the East African has given it prominence.
They also take a look at what is happening when it comes to the Chan 2024. Taking a look at Tanzania and Kenya in early romp to quarters. They haven't included Uganda because Uganda is playing tonight and it's a do or die for them. We'll be taking a look at that on Uganda's papers, but then this is the focus. Also talking about Nairobi pushes end of consensus rule in East Africa community. With many stalled programs due to the disagreements, Nairobi argues for Confederation to move them along.
Yes. So these are the regional headlines, but if we go specifically to Uganda and we start off there, of course, the team news about the Ugandan Cranes, it is do or die for them. Ugandan Cranes face South Africa tonight. Uganda Cranes pose for a Group 4 here before playing Niger on August 11th. Now today they have to avoid defeat against Bafana of South Africa if they are to progress to the quarterfinals. So out of the 3 hosts, Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda, hawa ndio lag behind. You're playing at home na ni kama munaregarega. Ni kama hawakupata zile mamilioni za wengine wanapata. Because that has been the biggest motivation. Even in Tanzania, the millions have been there. But even in Uganda, they were promised millions. But to calculate, ilikuwa ni kama 3 million shillings ya kila mtu, about 42 of them. So kila mtu alikuwa apate 70,000 bob Kenyan money. So ni kama hapo ndio kulikuwa na shida.
So
wangeongeza tu hivi kwa kama, because Kenyans yesterday, Harambee Stars team, yesterday Raila Odinga promised 500,000 shillings to each of the players. No, actually, they said, yes, because you've won, you're getting 500,000 shillings each. The president had already promised 2.5 million. Na ukumbuke kuna zile zingine walikuwa shapata hapo.
Hizo zingine plus nyumba kando.
Hizo hata don't count hizo. Sasa ni, and we are facing Madagascar. So chances of going to the semifinals, okay, sisemi it's wrong to be overconfident, but me I'm confident. More millions coming their way. But that's not the big headline. They're talking about Uganda importing twice more borders and cars. And this is a problem that also Kenya is facing. Uliona zile bodaboda zilikuwa zimewekwa hapo State House hapo mbele.
Yes.
Ni mingi sana. I saw that picture and it is very scary. There's a whole story about that. Anyway, anything. Boda economy. The country saw a huge increase in motorcycle imports with 500,917 motorcycles of the 787,610 total vehicle imports, nearly twice the number of motor vehicles registered by June last year. Yeah. This marked the first time the country recorded such a surge, with motorcycle imports rising by 67.3% compared to the previous 3-year average of 163 units. That's more than 3 times.
So likely you're going to be seeing more of the traffic jams, borders are not even really cars.
Yeah, and you see the biggest concern even in our situation here in Kenya is that, yes, the more borders you have, the more accidents linked to borders there are, because our hospitals are full of patients who have injuries sustained from border accidents. So what will happen in Uganda? That's a daily monitor.
I'm hoping it's going to be one of those electric borders and not the diesel fuel. And at least it might really save face.
Those small petrol engines, they're not so bad. The problem I have is matters to do with road safety.
Yes. Still in Uganda, NRM, top organ contestants hide delegates. The whole preparations of Mata's elections come next year. Grieved aspirants petition Museveni, who is the president. Also pictured below there, President launching Wagagai Gold Project.
And I don't know if way back we had noticed this, but on the new vision, half the page is always reserved for President Museveni, and he's always waving at someone. And there's a time they had him waving at cows. So there's a time they had him cutting down a banana stalk.
Yeah.
Now we have him waving at gold or something. Yeah, he's always waving at people.
They also talk about voters' giveaways to end corruption. Yes, 2026 Citizens Manifesto, really prepping up for Mata's elections. Tuingie pale Dar.
Yes. Kule Bongo on the Citizen, Tanzania powers a $3 billion regional cement expansion. East Africa's cement industry looks set to expand to $3 billion by 2033, with Tanzania firmly positioning itself as a sector's powerhouse, courtesy of major cross-border acquisitions and swift growth in production. Yes, Mata's production of cement, and they talk about how much acquisition they've done. In May, Tanzania's Amsons Group acquired a controlling stake in Kenya's Bamburi Cement, one of the oldest and most respected brands in East Africa, in a $180 million deal. So yes. In comparison, across the 3 East African states, Kenya currently producing annually about 16 million tons of cement, Tanzania at 10.9 million tons, and Uganda at 4.5 million tons. So in as far as production of cement, Kenya is still ahead.
Oh yes, it's very interesting because I remember last year when we were reviewing one of this, saying how Tanzania is always, it seems like a construction place,
construction site.
Every single time, they're
talking about new
roads
projects,
and new projects every single time.
Infrastructure.
Like Kenya back in, Kibaki's time.
Kibaki era, yes. When Thika Road was being built and every place you went was a construction site.
Yeah, so Tanzania really shaping up how they look like. This is very major news for them.
And at least they've reserved some news space for the elections. Palechini, what to expect as CCM prepares to endorse candidates for general elections. That story is on page 3. Remember, it's just slightly above 2 months before the election of October 29th. And so Mata's election are still given prominence. You can still see some space on the top strip. Mata's election 2025, there's a pledge, decentralization in focus, as Chauma unveils manifesto. Chauma is one of the opposition parties. Pale juu, page 10. From animal legs to testicles, nothing goes to waste in Dar. Wanachoma pale, ukichoma hapa Muturao wanachoma testicles hapa hivi. Ni wale jamaa wanaita hizi chakula aje. Wale mamantilia, lakini hawasi mamantilia, hizi ni zile chakula za street. Animal testicles. You should try that. All right, that's as far as the Citizen is concerned.
Still in Matters politics in Tanzania, sura mpya vita vya urais mwaka 2025. Sema 18 idadi ya watiania wa kugombea urais waliochukua fomu tume huru ya taifa ya uchaguzi INEC. Hiyo ni kama IEBC humu nchini Kenya.
Is this indicative of the level of confidence in President Samia Suluhu Hassan, the number of candidates who are willing to give it a run for presidency? 18 of them. Yeah. Hata wameshindwa kupata picha zao wote wakaweka cartoon kwa front page.
Wengine wakaweka ma silhouettes tu hapo.
Wengine hawajulikani hata wanafanana namna gani. Ni wengi tu.
But yeah, I mean, it's been long since I saw a Tanzanian page that has quite the politics in it. Still on the right strip, waandamana kisa kukatwa watiane udiwani CCM. Kiswahili kizito pale, lakini wazungumzia masuala ya CCM, Chama cha Mapinduzi, kukata wanaogombea. Things that we always see also common in Kenya when it comes to parties like ODM and even reducing the number of people who are contesting in different by-elections. Kwingineko, polisi Chadema kwenye mtifuano mpya 10 mbaroni. Na pale juu ongelea kilio cha watumiaji barabara ya Kilwa. Still not we were talking about Tanzania pale waendelea tu kutengeneza barabara nini pale Tanzania.
So matters transportation, transport infrastructure and general construction given prominence on most of the dailies today, but elections of course still getting prominence in Tanzania and Uganda. In Kenya ni kama maswala ya siasa hatuna mengi sana, but we're coming back to take a look at that. So those are the dailies, and before we even get to the cartoons, do we have quote of the day?
The past holds no power over your future. It's always possible to begin again, to take a new path, and to reinvent yourself as the person you wish to become.
All right, let's come back now and take a look at the local dailies.
Right, we start off with
because we forgot to take a look at weather, and it's a big update, so we still have to go back there. Poleni sana, poleni, samahani. Unajua nilikuwa Homa Bay last week, so I forgot a bit of what we do here. So let's start off with the update that the Met Department has given us.
Yes, according to the Kenya Met Department, they're calling it a yellow warning, heavy rainfall advisory from the 17th to the 19th of August. We are on 18th, so this is...
That was yesterday, today and tomorrow.
Yes, heading into tomorrow. They're saying 20 milliliters of up to 24 hours to pound Lake Victoria, Rift Valley and Highlands West Rift, spreading to the Highlands East Rift on the 17th, that was yesterday. Heavy rains to ease off from the 20th. Strong winds, more than 25 knots in eastern sector to persist. That basically really means the eastern part of the country will be receiving quite the number of winds. But then here is the kicker that you really need to remember this morning. Risk of flash floods, poor visibility, strong winds and lightning. Avoid walking/driving in moving water and sheltering under trees. The fact that the Kenya Met Department always has to give Kenyans this warning is because it has seen quite a number of these scenarios happening different parts of the country. So stay informed and be warned of this particular matters. The rains are here, so jichunge sana on the roads and wherever you are.
And just a reminder that even the last time we had floods in Nairobi, we had not even been given a warning by the Met Department because the rains that fell then were not as high as what we expect this time round.
Yes.
Meaning that even city dwellers may have a problem in as far as flooding is concerned. So let's take a look, because today we're supposed to be right smack in the middle of this phenomenon, but Mombasa doesn't look like they're going to experience a lot of rain. But it is raining, even in Mombasa as we speak.
As they have the
23 degrees Celsius, highs of 27 degrees, which is fair weather there. But sometimes I was wondering, in Homa Bay, I keep saying 27 is fair weather. I'm telling you, Homa Bay,
it's hot.
27, 28, and you're burning.
Yes.
You can even see Avatar. Yes. 1.8 millimeters of rainfall expected in Mombasa.
Yes.
They've said Lake Victoria region. So tuangazie Kisumu, tuone Kisumu kuna kana namna gani.
In Kisumu Dala, definitely, as you can see, the whole day, no sight of sunshine. Highs of about 24, thereabout. The whole day is going to be cloudy. As of the noon, it's going to get some thunderstorms, precipitation about 19.6.
So actually the warning that the Met Department gave, this is real. 19.6 millimeters of rainfall in Kisumu. That is huge.
And then kutafuta umbrellas watu wa Kisumu.
Take a look at areas closer to Mount Kenya region. Yes, and you can see it's just another indication of rain. It's a cloudy day. It's very cold, 17 degrees currently. Promises to be a rainy day. Highs of 21 degrees. As far as precipitation is concerned, 15.7 millimeters of rainfall in Murang'a. So yes, Murang'a will definitely be affected.
Yes.
So Kisumu, Murang'a, kuna mvua leo. Let's go to the Rift Valley, areas like Eldoret, and this is just representative. If Eldoret is raining, Mujuyata, Nakuru, and areas around Kitale will be raining too.
They also say it's going to be, feels like 14 degrees Celsius. You're definitely going to be expecting some rain up to around the noon. Highs of about 19 degrees Celsius. Precipitation, 14.5 millimeters. That's definitely also quite high. So chances of raining in Eldoret
100%.
are also quite very high. The north region.
In Garissa, even in Garissa, there's a bit of rainfall there. It's a cloudy day in Garissa, which is rarely seen. Right now it's warm, 23 degrees, highs of 30 degrees actually. And as far as precipitation is concerned, 0.6 millimeters. That's the lowest we've seen so far. And finally, Nairobi.
In Nairobi, yes, it's going to be one of those very gloomy days.
Look at the highs.
17 degrees Celsius.
We're not going beyond 17 degrees today in Nairobi. Actually, right now it's 16. So we're just going to a notch higher, just 1 degree, and that's it.
Yes. So even as you watch us this morning, make sure that as you leave the house to go to work or school, be warm. Precipitation about, this is the highest that we've seen this morning, 32.1 millimeters. So the chances of raining today are quite high. 32
is actually higher than what even the Met Department has predicted.
Yes.
Meaning Nairobi will be most affected from all the areas that we've seen today. 32 millimeters of rainfall in Nairobi.
Yes.
Ienda tu kaa nyumbani. Hata kwenda kazi usiende. Sasa sijui kama watu wameenda kazi. Let's take a look at the traffic situation. Haraka tu.
Ndio pia ugauge uone na hii mvua na traffic jam. Let me just
take a look at Thika Road.
Let me just make that call. Niambie mdosi leo kidogo. Let's just do it virtually.
What time is it? It's exactly 15 minutes past 6.
Yes.
And you can see the situation on Thika Road. And there's that dark red stretch all the way, just after that outer ring road entry into Thika Road. Hapo traffic inaanzia hapo. All the way mpaka Pangani interchange and even past. Where this one is problem. Past KCA, past Utalii, past Survey, Mathare Mental Hospital, yote imeingia mpaka pale interchange. So if you're using Thika Road, if you can avoid Thika Road today, please do, because hiyo imeharibika. The other area is Jogoo Road. Acha tuangazie hapa Jogoo Road, nimeona pia kuna another stretch of red, but this is not anything abnormal, ni ile pale Makadara kama kawaida.
Yes.
Nothing to worry about. Outer Ring Road not looking bad. Areas like Pipeline, Tasia, not bad. Mombasa Road too.
Mombasa Road is also looking
But there's a bit of a problem here, I can see.
As you're getting into town from Capital Center.
Just after Capital Center, there's a long stretch of red and yellow, both on the expressway na kule chini. What exactly is happening there? Because this is very rare. I've never seen this during morning hours. So if you're using the expressway or even using the lower part of Mombasa Road, after Capital Center all the way mpaka Nyayo Stadium, there's a bit of slow traffic there. Other areas of the city, Wayakiwe?
Wayakiwe looking clear. There's also Ngong Road hapa tu ni ile red kidogo ya mataa, but is flowing nicely. Pale watu kwenda Lang'ata is also inakaa very clear. A bit of some red here. I think hii ni ile mataa. Yes.
Ile Marikiti pale railways.
Yes.
Both sides up Machakos bus station.
Nothing to worry you this morning.
But those who should be worried this morning as far as traffic is concerned,
Thika Road.
Thika Road hapo iko shida. All the way from Allsops to the Pangani interchange. So sasa tuangazie magazeti because kuna mambo mengi pia kuzungumzia. But at least on the front page of the Daily Nation, and this is what we always call for. If at all it's time to celebrate, let us celebrate.
Let us celebrate.
Yes, against all odds. And the picture there of Harambee Stars players celebrating after striker Ryan Ogam scored the winning goal in the 77th minute at Kasarani against Zambia once again. Congratulations, Harambee Stars. And yes, a reminder that 2.5 million shillings is the amount that the president promised each player if they win the game against Zambia. They did win. That's a triumph. We'll see every player in the 42-man squad rewarded 2.5 million from President William Ruto and an additional 500,000 shillings from former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Rais ametwita akasema dawa ya deni ni kulipa.
Oh yes.
Kwa hivyo atalipa. Leo unasikia tu hivi kila mtu anakuwa na phone yake hivi anaangalia ikigonga account.
Okay. Account balance. Oh yes.
Account balance.
And there's something the Gen Z like to say, ganji ndio inabonga. Ganji ndio inabonga.
So they were considered underdogs at the start of the African Nations Championships. Debutant Harambee Stars stand Zambia in the final group match to advance to the quarterfinals as group winners. With a victory, the hosts now retain home ground advantage in the knockout stage, while runners-up Morocco travel to Dar es Salaam to face Tanzania. Sasa hiyo ndio itakuwa kizungumkuti.
Oh, yes.
Dar es Salaam, Tanzania na Morocco. All right, other stories given prominence on the front page here. Varsity fees shocker. First-year students begin reporting to universities today amid protests over unclear fees structure, including mandatory charges of up to 50,000 shillings to secure admission. Even as a higher education loans board, allocations are yet to be disbursed. The other story, Treasury dragged into a fight for 60 billion shilling police salaries, bado wanangangana. Mambo ya mishahara ya askari polisi na Chief Justice Koome top judges off the hook. The Judicial Service Commission has dismissed petitions seeking the removal of all Supreme Court judges, including Chief Justice Martha Koome, citing lack of merit. That's the Daily Nation.
On to the Standard, some scandalous headline today. Insurance rip-off. They say medical mirage for thousands of county workers across Kenya. Medical insurance cards are nothing more than worthless plastic. Despite billions paid in premiums, hospitals are rejecting patients, forcing families into debt or despair. A Standard investigation reveals how rogue officials, brokers, have turned health cover into a silent but deadly scam. Showing you this particular key figures, 33 billion Kenyan shillings what the government owes hospitals in unpaid claims, 32 billion additional arrears under Social Health Authority, that is SHA, 76 million amount paid by Isiolo to Jubilee Insurance out of the 120 million contract, 150 million amount paid by Bungoma to Karen District Insurance. There's also 134 million. This is paid by Baringo to Kenya Alliance and Fast Assurance, 172 million paid by Nyamira to Star Discovery Insurance, 7.6 million paid by Vihiga to Trident Insurance, and 350 million plus spent by Kilifi on medical scheme. Now this is very key, just as the whole of last week we were at the Devolution Conference and taking stock of what devolved units have done when it comes to implementing their roles in different sectors, health being very key. Now, seeing this particular headline just after the Devolution Conference is very worrying.
Yes. Yes, indeed, matters devolution have much been discussed, but then again, there's that proposal that Raila Odinga made
yes,
that education should be fully devolved. If at all they're mismanaging health for their own workers to this level, forget about even health services for the people. Should we have confidence in them running education, which is already in ICU? All right.
Speaking of confidence, Harambee Stars beat Zambia to top group. We've definitely taken a look at that. And for more details, tune in from 8 to 9 a.m. for Monday Blitz. They'll be analyzing this with the whole gang on just how key Harambee Stars has for them. From the Standard,
and I'm just looking at the back page of the Standard because I do have the physical copy there, and they say Kenya come out of group of death unscathed. You know, football yenyewe hatukuanga hapo. Kenya, we had 10 points in the group.
Hey.
Morocco 9. Morocco. Sio watu wengine Morocco. Zambia came out with nothing. 0 points after all those matches. At least Angola got 4 and DR Congo 6. But congratulations to their stars. That's the Standard.
Yes.
On the People Daily, it's do or die. That's a story about the plans. Today, The two broad-based government allies are going to hold a joint meeting today, which has been opposed by some members as they seek to put in place a formidable team ahead of 2027 polls. You see, this is very controversial that now Raila Odinga and a lot of people in ODM kept on saying we're not in government. But now today, they're going to have their very first joint parliamentary group meeting at State House, of course. So ODM MPs are now going to State House to sit down, and the irony of it, to sit down and listen to President William Ruto as their leader. And very many people are very excited. I know someone like Peter Kaluma, the MP, Homa Bay Town, is very excited and is always smiling when he talks about this. But there are some who said, me, you'll never see me there. And one of them is SG of the party. Alisema mimi
pictured above there.
Siwezi enda. So let's wait and see if at all he'll be among those who will boycott this parliamentary group meeting.
Yes.
Meanwhile, he's also on the front page why ODM risks facing youth exodus ahead of next elections. And this, I think, is these are the most political headlines we've seen so far.
Yes, true.
Matters to do with ODM and their dalliance with the UDA and what it means for people like Edwin Sifuna, Caleb Amisi, and Babu Owino and others.
Yeah.
If they stay away and they decide to move on with their Kenya Moja alliance, will they be chased out of this party?
And what it means for the future of ODM.
Yes. Hii ndio ile picha nilikuwa nakwambia boda boda. As Uganda doubles its importation of boda bodas.
Yes, sisi.
Actually Uganda has tripled. Sisi hizi ndio picha tunaweka pale. State House pia. Photos, pledges, and the empowerment lies. There are claims, and this is on the story on page 6, that these were just photos and that very few people got them motorbikes. Yeah. Even though wanasema, mimi sijui.
Ama labda bado ziko service.
Maybe waliambiwa zikaekae zende ziwekwe mafuta. Hazikuwa zimewekwa mafuta. That's a people daily.
Kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo sema Koome aponyoka, jaji mkuu apumua baada ya kesi iliyotishia kumng'oa mamlakani na majaji wenzake kutupwa nje na tume ya JSC. Sema nafuu kesi hiyo dhidi ya jaji mkuu Koome na majaji wengine ilikuwa imeamsha hisia kali, hasa kutoka kwa wanasiasa wanaoegemea mrengo wa upinzani waliomshutumu Ruto kwa kudai kuwa alikuwa na njama ya kumng'oa Koome mamlakani. Kwenye ukurasa wa pili, kwingineko, taarifa uliokuwa ukizungumzia maelfu ya pikipiki yaozea vituo vya polisi. Taarifa tofauti lakini masuala ya pikipiki.
Lakini masuala ya bodaboda ya kurasa za mbele hapa Kenya na pia Uganda.
Sema wahudumu wengi wamezamishwa na madeni, wengine wakikosa riziki, huku pikipiki zao zikizuiliwa na polisi. And when you read more on this story, you'll realize also that police officers are taking advantage of this and how they actually nab these bodabodas and they start to auction them. Yes.
Because if you go to any police station, there's always a huge area where pikipikis are just bundled there.
Yes.
And some of the fines that are imposed upon some of these people, unaangalia hivi unasema ile fine talipa na ile bei ya hiyo pikipiki, wacha niende nunue pikipiki nyingine mpya. Yeah.
So yes, that's among the stories there. Mshtuko vyuo vikuu vikitisha 50,000 za usajili. Kwingineko, Harambee Stars na maajabu waingia 8 bora ya kambumbu ya CHAN. Pale juu, mrengo mpya wa Sifuna wadai umependwa kote. We'll be taking a look at how that will be panning out today. And also, ODM UDA kutochiana viti uchaguzi mdogo ujao.
You see now, because people are imagining, it's the same thing happening with the united opposition, that now because you're working together, then you really don't have to compete at the by-elections.
Yes.
So even ODM and UDA said, okay, fine, we are putting candidates everywhere. Even in Luo Nyanza, we go, areas like where the current CS for energy.
And it's definitely going to be a curtain raiser for the 2027 elections and how this by-elections plays out, and it's going to be something we're going to be discussing as well. On Business Daily, that story that we told you about, something very interesting. Why a Adani partner sold his elite Runda school. Forget this.
So listen,
130 Kenyan shillings.
Sunny Varkey, the Dubai-based GEMS, is it GEMS or GEMS? Education founder and a business partner of India's Gautam Adani, Adani back, sold his high-end Kenyan school for the price of an 800-gram loaf of bread in 2021 after a flopped attempt to capture the Nairobi market. Court papers filed in a Dubai court show that Mr. Varkey's Gems Africa Limited initially sold Regis School Runda to Ernest Mureithi, who was at the time the institution's country director, for $1.
Hey.
As debts continued to pile in the millions. The sale was designed to escape the mounting debt, pursuit by the Kenya Revenue Authority, and the need to pump additional capital into the school that targeted pupils from high-income earning families. $1. Lakini unajua hii ni mchezo wanabiashara ufanya. Ile tu wametransfer, because even a sale, even a transfer, you see capital gains tax and stuff like that will attract a lot of taxes. But nikikuuzia kitu, ningekuuzia 100 million ulipe tax, nikuuzie $1. Tax watakuja kuchukua how many cents?
So ni maneno tax avoidance.
I don't want to say it is that, but that's what happened. He sold a school worth all this money. Yes. At 130 shillings.
Ama labda ilikuwa Black November yake. Ile unapatanga something at throw praise.
You can read a lot more on that story on page 2 of the Business Daily. It's one of those interesting stories.
Something also, today the matters at transportation has really been given prominence on major papers. On the left strip of the Business Daily, they say state reinstates fuel subsidy on 4 billion Kenyan shillings collected from motorists. You can read that as well on that page. On the ticker, tumalizana na ticker, alafu sasa tuingie into matters Harambee Stars. They say NSSF eyes 1.6 billion Kenyan shillings loan for mega Kisumu housing complex. Ngineko, KCB retains some NBK shared clients in Access Bank sale, matters biashara. Alafu kwa hiyo picha, Harambee Stars shoot for glory and millions.
And it's commendable that all papers, I think even the Star, which you've not been able to look at least, it's only the People Daily that didn't have the Star on the front page. Because these are some of the news that we need to see.
Yes.
Media has been accused of being very negative. So when there's something positive to talk about, it's always good. It's a national piece of news. So weka Harambee Stars on the front page. Kama Business Daily wamepata nafasi ya kuweka stars kwa front page, wewe ni nani?
And I love the fact that even the Star has the soft copy app, but on the front page of the Star, you can grab yourself a copy. I love the fact that they actually decided to show you how the fans came out in large numbers, not in the stadiums, but in the fan zones to actually watch.
There are viewing zones in there.
Yes, the viewing zones.
Archives, nasikia kuna giant screen, and people are celebrating there even better than the stadium.
Watu walikaa chini vizuri, waka watch vizuri.
Wonderful scenes.
Oh yes.
Courtesy of Harambee Stars. Yes, just a reminder once again that this gentleman will be in studio. Kipruto Arapkirwa, Samuel Pogisio, and Kibe Mungai. They will be here in a few minutes, in about a minute or so. Yes. So tuangazie Karakacha kabla to kwenda break. Karakacha nasema nina. Tunaanza na the one of the People Daily, Star No Steak.
Yes.
This used to be your favorite.
Oh yes, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, from his trip to the United States, he learned a thing or two there, and he probably borrowed or bought this book written how Trump went for one term and how he returned. And with that whole wisdom, he is probably thinking about writing his own book that is going to be titling it How Ruto Went for One Term and How Gachagua Returned. Yes.
Nice one there by Stano. This one on the Standard draws parallels with the football hype, but it's talking about something different. Matters accountability in as far as CDF is concerned. That's what the questions are, and who's being asked the question, and pigs.
Yes.
Because you're members of Parliament.
And how the ball is on the on their
they're
court.
very reluctant to actually answer questions on CDF. Wapendi maswali ya CDF, musiulize swali, yao pesa ni yao. Mutakuja ulizwa maswali, hakuna kuhepa. Finally, Daily Nation.
You guys take IBC and how it's trying to make sure that this boat they're on, it's an old boat, but then the people who are steering it are a new crop of sailors. But then this stormy waters contain very dangerous animals in there. Boundary delimitation, register cleanup, budget, objection, and voter registration. And this is also one of those animals that you've really been talking about when it comes to boundary.
Boundaries.
Yes, delimitation.
And what it will mean.
Yes.
potential legal challenges even for the elections of 2027 going forward. Exactly 32 minutes past 6. Time for us to take a break. When we come back, State of the Nation with the gentleman I just told you. Meanwhile, you can interact with us on our social media pages, on X at TV47 News Kenya, TV47 News KE.
Yes.
The hashtag is Morning Cafe. My handle is at Fred Intimuli. And
your _. Monday Blitz coming up from around 8 to 9. So some very interesting football analysis in case you missed yesterday's match, and also how Manchester United let Arsenal win the first time. Yes.
All right.
Is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
Kenya went into their final Group A clash, determined to claim maximum points and secure the vital home advantage for the quarterfinals.
Face of goal and scuffed In trying to find the finish, Ryan Orgam collapses.
The Harambee Stars started brightly with Austin Odhiambo and Ryan Ogam forcing early saves from the Chipolopolo goalkeeper as the host piled on the pressure.
Club level over the past few seasons in Zambia.
Benny McCarthy's men kept pressing relentlessly, and their persistence was finally rewarded in the 75th minute when Ryan Ogam struck from close range to break the deadlock.
His second of the tournament, but the first of the game, and Kenya now poised to stay in Nairobi. Ryan Ogam scores for...
Mtu wako focus na quarterfinals. Sasa tushaona ilikuwa ni group of death, but hiyo ilikuwa two words. I think kila mtu ameshow ako capable kucheza top level. So I think game ya Madagascar pia tuna approach with the same mentality. Approach hizi games zingine.
The decisive goal not only sealed top spot in the group for Kenya, but also booked them a thrilling quarter-final showdown against Madagascar at the Moi International Sports Center Kasarani on August 22nd.
Then cut back inside, then made the pass into the path.
It's amazing. It's amazing. The players are so motivated, and I think the coming games will do the same. It's our aim to win the trophy.
Itakuwa game ngumu, lakini sisi nadhani si kama player tunachukulia kila game kama finals. Sasa tutawaandarate, lakini pia itakuwa rahisi.
Nzuki Alan for TV47 Sports.
Stadium, but even better scenes at the very different viewing points where Kenyans got a chance. Those who did not make it to the stadium got a chance to view the matches on large giant screens. We do have that story here as well. Let's view it.
For Harambee Stars fans, the designated fan zone areas on Sunday turned into second stadiums. They gathered early, dressed in the national team jerseys and waving the Kenyan flag. With patriotism, they came out to support the national team in the final group stage match against Chipolopolo of Zambia. The atmosphere electric for all who showed up.
Pongezi kwa CAF kutufunza. Hiyo ni adabu tunafunzwa. Tunaonyeshwa hii football inafaa kuwa hivi, unaona? Haifai tunatengenezwa kitu then tunaharibu tena.
Tunaomba wao so that they can add for us a capacity from 27 next game. We learn from our mistake. Yes, we do a mistake Morocco game.
The designated fan zones to watch the match in Nairobi included Lucky Sama, Dandora Stadium and Uhuru Park. And when the Stars scored a goal,
Watanzania watulia kwanza. Watulia tukimalizana na hii game, watulete Argentina. Tukishamalizana na Argentina, France, alafu finali tumebeba hii kitu imeenda.
Security in these designated match viewing areas was top-notch, with fans urged to follow procedures and avoid overcrowding.
Tukuje 100%. Mazee sisi tunataka tukuje tujaze study. Hatuwezi kuwa tunakuja hapa na study ziko empty. Unaona? Tuache tujaze study.
At least ball yetu inarudi. Yenyewe walikuwa wametuibia ball yetu, lakini CAF last time tulivunja gate, tuna apologize. Hatutarudia, moja tu tujaze study. We are sorry. Moja tu tujaze study.
It is with no doubt that today was a big blow for most of the Kenyans who were unable to watch this match in person. However, with Harambee Stars now playing the quarters fixtures here in Kasarani, the question remains to be, will CAF amend their sanctions? Sheila Chelangat for TV47 at the Kasarani Stadium, Nairobi.
Yes, indeed, lovely scenes all over Nairobi and beyond as the Stars made history and booked their way to the quarterfinals of the CHAN tournament. And most of the dailies have these as the biggest story on the front pages. The Daily Nation, which is arguably the biggest newspaper we have, has it as a main story, against all odds. That's the main headline. Allow me to welcome my panelists this morning, Kipruto Rapkirwa, who served as Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki 1 administration, and before that as member of the National Assembly representing Cherangani constituency. Good morning, karibu sana.
It's my pleasure.
Samuel Pogisio, who has served as Senate Majority Leader in the 12th Parliament, Senator West Pokot, before that as MP for Kachiliba. He also served as Minister for ICT in the Kibaki 2 administration. Karibu sana, Bwana Pogisio. And we have constitutional lawyer Kibe Mungai with us this morning. Gentlemen, a lot to celebrate this morning. The media has been challenged that whenever there's positive news, we should give it prominence, that we have focused too much on negative news. We've put it, look at the dailies, and it's on the front pages. Definitely something to celebrate, Bwana Kirwa.
Well, I do appreciate, and I want to congratulate our team, the Harambee Stars, and also remind Kenyans that this is the way things should be. Let us celebrate the good things, and also let us have the courage to talk about things that don't make us happy. But a more fundamental issue, Fred, that we need to look at when we do these sports, it should not just be a knee-jerk reaction where the president decides that this is the way we are going to reward the players of the day. Remember that sports occupies a very important part of our society. And therefore, we must think holistically and have a policy on how do we support sportsmen and women in Kenya. In that, I mean, we should have a policy decision that whenever you win, remember the Pamela Chelimo, Janet Chepkoskei, we are referring to as Eldoret Express, people like Julius Kiru, people like John Ngugi, Charles Sasati, Nyandeka Mayoro. All those are people who made Kenya proud at one time or the other. Not to forget people like Julia Sang. In 1972, we won in the Olympics. And those are people, some of them have died very poor. We only remember them when we're going to bury them. And their life in between is not captured. What am I trying to say? Today, the president is going to give the money. Prime Minister Raila Odinga is also to give $500,000 to every player. But how are we going to capture so that when they retire, they're able to have something akin to some kind of pension? Here in Ethiopia, our brothers and sisters in Ethiopia, whenever they win certain amount of money, that money is captured and they can be given a good business deal, including getting a prime plot in Addis Ababa. They build it. Kananisa Pekele has been building for the last 20 years or so a hotel, 22 floors in Addis Ababa. Somebody like Haile Gebrselassie has more than 5 hotels, thanks to his leg and the capacity to chase the wind. These are things that we must be able to allow our sportsmen and women. That national heroism should not just be captured for the moment. They should create something, as I said, akin to pension.
Okay.
The two of us as members of parliament, we are contributing about 52,000 every month. And thanks, that is why we are able to fuel the car to the studio. But many of these runners, many of these athletes, when they bring even the money back, we tax them. Now, whatever the president is giving and Prime Minister Raila is not going to be subjected to any level of taxation. Now, if Chelimo wins 60 million, then she's taxed there. Some of the promoters take a lot of money. She comes back to Kenya with 30 million, and you still subject it to taxes. Why don't we copy from this and we say this is a policy position we are going to adopt as Kenya, so that it's not just reacting to a situation. If Ruto was doing his second term, would he have done what he's doing now? Or is he doing just populism and to promote these figures in terms of popularity in Kenya?
All right. But we cannot ignore the fact that this awards by the president and other people have really motivated the players. And probably that is what was missing all this time, and as far as Kenyan football is concerned. Bwana Pogisio.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. And let me also just take the first opportunity possible to congratulate our Harambee Stars team. This is probably one of the most remarkable performances we've seen in recent years from Harambee Stars. And it is true, by the way, that that there are few people to congratulate. Of course, the trainers are behind the scenes. The managers are behind the scenes. The coaches are behind the scenes. But we don't get to see those people. But I think we need to congratulate them as well. And now, of course, to the front. The front now has come the president. And I think the president has done this so that we also need to congratulate him for what I think he has come out as innovation to win through these awards or rewards, whatever it is. I'd like for many of our viewers to realize that what we do in sports should not necessarily be driven by the reward or the award. It's a way of growing patriotism in your state, in the country. And so much as I appreciate how much we give them, but what are we doing to make sure that they're actually more patriotic? And patriotism is the way for the future, especially for the young people. So all this come out. They've done very well. Are they doing it because they're emotionally uplifted, or is it because they're patriotic about their country? And I think that's the key question. And I really hope that they're doing this. They get the winnings, but surely it's for country. And all sports, whether you are rewarded or not, that is the way it should be. First of all, it's for country. It is for you to lift your country up. And so whether there were millions or not, let the millions come. But at the back of that, you should be proud to be Kenyan and work hard for Kenya. If necessary, commit yourself to scoring those goals. So that in future, we don't have teams that say, hey, man, if you don't give me this, I'm not going to, So, I mean, that is really the aim of this. But congratulations, Harambee Stars. Where you've reached so far, it's remarkable. And I hope that they'll continue. The second or third thing I want to say is, if this team now were to fall off, do we have a succession plan for the Harambee Stars? And what is that succession plan? We'd like to see, for example, the under-18s or the whatever, under-20 teams show the same kind of thing. And I think we have a future in football if we continue that way.
All right. And yes, questions around sustainability of this kind of rewards, or because even away from matters to do with patriotic duty, Wakili Mungai, the issue is that, yes, any young Kenyan would want rewards or to be awarded something after you've worked hard the way the Stars have. But then again, issues have been raised about the sustainability of the kind of reward system that has been put in place this time and which has proven to be effective. What do we need going forward? Is it an issue of legislation?
Yes, that's a good question. But before I answer the question, let me also join my colleagues in congratulating Harambee Stars for their phenomenal achievement so far. I think now that we are able to beat Morocco with 10 men, and Morocco is said to be the strongest team around, I think we have a good chance to ensure that the ultimate prize remains in Kenya. So congratulations to Harambee Stars, the coach, and of course the Football Federation, because for the first time, and it is not by accident, Kenya has a high caliber coach. Kenya, for those of us who understand football and have been long-standing fans of football, we are playing with a plan, and you're proud to see we've scored extremely good goals. So for the first time, we are all rallying together, not just fluking, and I think it goes beyond the fact that people are being rewarded. You can also see that there is an upgrade of the game that Harambee Stars is playing. So my congratulations to the coaching staff, and of course to the Federation for rising up to the occasion. I heard that the coach wants to go and do club football. I hope they might ever convince him to continue coaching, or if he must go, we hope that there will be another high caliber coach to ensure that we are able to play good football. And because training matters, because football has become a very serious science nowadays. And we are seeing results being produced when you get the technicals right. Now, having said that, there is, of course, the need to institutionalize sports. There is an element to which the law and the constitutions have done that. The constitution, first of all, have sports is a devolved function. Of course, you do not see the counties doing enough to be able to realize the sporting potential of our young people. Number two, there is what we call the Sports Act. The Sports Act was legislated, I believe, in 2013 to be able to ensure that the national, all the sports, particularly at the national level, are run in accordance with specific rules so that the sports is professionalized. There is a different extent to which this has been possible, but unfortunately, and I've been involved in some of those cases with, for example, a friend of mine called Moses Tanui. We are having a lot of challenges to try to ensure, for example, like the sports of athletics, which Kenya is very well known of, is able to be institutionalized and not just run by a small cartel. So those challenges remain, despite that the law seems to be clear. And of course, what the president is doing, and I congratulate him for the awards together with the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, it is good in itself. But that is largely informal. And that is why we are saying that it may not be sustainable, because tomorrow you may have an embarrassing situation where one of the national teams, volleyball or rugby, goes to South Africa, and because there is no political razzmatazz about it, you may find they do not have anywhere to sleep. So, and that is why institutionalization of sports should mean in a practical sense, so that we do not want it to appear that we are doing it for politics. It's good what we are doing, and it's good empowerment for the Gen Z, who are mainly the football players, that they have taken the challenge, that you do this, you win the trophy. I'm happy for the goals and the fact that they are on a winning trend. Finally, there is a question that is important here, what I call hypocrisy in the management of our country's affair, and I want to restrict myself to sports. 3 weeks ago, I was in Eldoret. The famous stadium near Eldoret, near the courts, is called
Kipchoge.
Kipchoge. Yes. Now, Kipchoge, it is a shell. Yeah. And this is in the president's own county. And when I asked, is this the Kipchoge that we hear about? And the people that I was with, many of them from the Nandi community, were saying, well, it is good to you, some of you people, to see these things, because everybody assumes we are beneficiaries. You can see what is happening. But worse than that is that tomorrow I'll be filing a case in Eldoret High Court. This is a case to challenge what is Kipchoge Keino Stadium in Kapsabet, which they have passed resolution to turn it into a market. You can imagine this is a historical stadium, and what is being done, the kind of small-mindedness that can have, because in the name of affordable housing and in the name of what is clearly land grabbing, you can see these kind of things happening. Sports is a big business across the world, because Kenya has got very good sports people. If one was very serious about empowerment would be genuinely done in the sports sector in Kenya, and it would have great rewards. So my challenge is that let us not do it for the politics. If we really want to do something for the youth, sports is a starting point, and these contradictions, like on one hand you are giving money to Harambee Stars, on the other hand, people around you, if not yourself, you are trying to grab Kipchoge Stadium in Kapsabet. It's embarrassing, and it's a shame.
And we may not be able to divorce sports from politics, because yes, there are promises made even during political campaigns on how many stadiums will be built. The president definitely has done his bit in as far as even increasing the number of usable international standard stadiums, including Talanta Stadium, which is still not ready. But we have now the Ulinzi Stadium, we have Nyayo Stadium revamped, and Kasarani revamped as well. But the problem comes on this issue of devolution of some of these functions.
Yeah.
Did we do injustice to the management of sports by devolving sports?
Well, In fact, devolution doesn't mean that you are taking resources to another country. You are just taking resources to a county, and that county does exist within the boundaries of Kenya. This therefore means there is still a nexus between every county and the central government. And what we should be doing is how to augment each other. Where the county does well, we promote them. Where the national government can do well, they can also chip in to assist to spur up some kind of growth when it comes to sports. But fundamentally, Fred, we seem to be thinking in pigeonholes. Pigeonholes in the sense that when there is a success story, like Harambee Stars, we want to hype it for our own narrow political sense. Check, Uganda is also doing well, whatever the money is being given. Tanzania is doing well in their own league, whatever the money is being given. But we seem to be isolating and making it look like it's only Kenya. And also, for avoidance...
Is it wrong to use that for political dividends for the president?
When you use it, don't overuse it. At times, it's always good to do well and wait for others to praise you. Don't just praise yourself and sort of do some kind of hero worshipping yourself. Allow the other people to say so-and-so does well. And in fact, for these sports, let us remind each other, when did it start getting some kind of reward? It is during the ministerial position of the time of minor commander that he was able to reward. It was token of 100,000, and that is how that kind of thing should have been built, in a way that we don't look at sports in isolation. Today, Paul Ereng, who happens to come from my former constituency, or my constituency because that's still my home, is now doing coaching in America. Those are individuals we should have been able to assist to come home, coach, and pick the talent from home. Because the entire Rift Valley, and even some parts of central Kenya, and even eastern Kenya, Ukambani, you remember some of the individuals from Ukambani were very good runners. For how long did they exist? Tekla Jemabwai, if she did not go back to school, somebody like Paul Boit, the guy was a lecturer at Kenyatta University, he may still be there. People like Lorupe, Tekla, is it Tekla?
Yeah, Tekla.
Tekla Lorupe. It is their own effort that they are still sustaining themselves nationally. What am I saying? I'm saying we should not look at sports in terms of celebrating the results that has been done over the period. The talent, the sports talent that we have as a country, we've been just picking raw. Some guys who used to run to school because the school was far from their home, in the process they graduate and they become athletes. Nobody trained them. Most of them, it is only that people like Kipchoge Keino who went to the police, and he had that vigorous training through the police and a few other people. But many of them were just runners. People like the late Henry Rono, who broke 4 records, including improving on his own record in 1 year. Where did they end up? They ended up in situations that we only remembered them when we were going to bury them in Nandi. These are some of the things that we say. We must think of sports from when a child joins primary school. It's a talent. Like a good student, like our good lawyer here, did well in school, that's why he's a lawyer. So we should also reward talents. If I can run away from the wind or chase the wind and I win, allow me to be rewarded, allow me to be trained so that I do better.
Where is the disconnect? Because now many people in Kenya do not know, because last week we were at the Devolution Conference in Homa Bay, and discussions around sports are rarely taken seriously, even in that kind of forum. Everyone is talking about even education, feeding children in schools. No one is talking about sports. Could that be the disconnect, that it is a devolved function, yet no one takes it seriously at that level?
Thanks, Fred, and I'd like to agree with my colleagues. You know, the devolution also depends on the leadership in those counties, and of course, you know, you want to think about the whole Council of Governors, for example. It's a very big organization that should standardize things. It's better to have one good stadium, but also have training facilities like gymnasiums, swimming pools, and other places for people to strengthen what they have. so that they can go to the field. But what we have done is we've compartmentalized sports to the extent that you're asking people to become good footballers, but they have no other training facility. They have, and then they don't have the trainers. And in this country, these sports have become a science. You can't just say, because I'm a runner, I can also coach. No, it's a whole different area of coaching. And because I'm a footballer, no, that's not the state of affairs. We have the capacity to train the trainers for the future and for all the counties to be able to begin to tap into the sporting abilities of the young people. There are very many who have exactly what it takes, but they don't even know that they are good in this particular area. And I look at the whole area of football. Now that we have introduced literally a commercialization of football, if I may say so, it's now going to be, we now have to watch how corruption crops into the whole place. Because now, for you to be selected, you probably now it'll be a bit difficult. So that's why institutionalizing it is better. Because, I mean, how are you going to choose the next 12 or the next 14, the next 20? With everybody thinking now that there is money, therefore, I must fight hard or do something to get in there. Let's institutionalize it so that it is understood. The selection process will be above board. Everybody knows you have to do this like you do for a job. You have to show a certain extreme talent that makes you fit for a position in the field. Rather than having people just coming in with our own ideas that we have today of favoritism, whatever it is, we should standardize. We should have a situation where sports institutionalized. If it's possible, you should actually have testings and things like that you pass. Otherwise, we can no longer just take sports as we used to take them. The reason, and I say this because I've been talking about particular sports that we don't have in this country. I've been talking about a sport like pole vault, high jump. Before all these things, in the past, Kenyans actually used to have very good long jump, for example. I mean, there's no reason why we are not jumping longer than other people, in this world. I would understand for pole vaults because it's trust issues, It's a trust issue. Sometimes we look at that pole and you think it might snap in the middle, or you don't even believe, you don't know about that mattress, whether it can actually retain you. You begin to doubt things like that. But people must come out and train them. If you train Kenyans today on long jump, technically, they will be long jumping. They've been jumping over all this,
Yeah. And sports is definitely big business in other countries, in the US. This could be one of the ways to resolve the issue of youth unemployment. Yeah. How come we as a country, and even in the devolved system, we do not seem to think that way? As a final word to this.
Yes, as a final word, just two things. One is, I regret to say, but we saw it during the devolution conference in Homa Bay, that by and large, going by what the governors were displaying, is that you get the feeling, and when you read the gloomy articles over the weekend, a scenario whereby the majority of governors, at least 40 of them out of the 47, you can say these are very low caliber individuals who are basically there to steal. They are thieves for every practical purposes. And when you see, when you dedicate yourself to theft, it is highly unlikely that during these 5 years that you would be able to do anything else, because theft takes time to pull whatever games you are doing to steal public resources. And therefore, part of the challenge, in my view, is that Kenyans themselves, particularly when you vote in 2027, we cannot afford to elect 40 thieves out of 47. That is where the starting point must be, so that you can be able to get people into public office who actually intend to work for the people. Number two, At the national government level, and this is what you see the newspapers and everywhere, there's a sense in which it is again a high caliber presidency and parliament that we are running. And therefore, there's a lot of fixing to do for this country. So that when you say that why can't we do this or the other, the big questions would be, who will be able to do that? Because you must look at each other in the eye and say, are these a lot, honestly, that we are expecting them to make the difference? So that probably is a challenge for the future, if you ask me. The laws are okay. We can say patch-ups, like all these rewards that we are doing. We just hope, for example, like when it comes to football and other sports, let us also have a reward scheme in football, so that the government itself can say, we have put 50 million shillings, and when people at the end of the year, position 1 to 10, if there are 20 teams, then you are going to be rewarded this or the other way. That can be an extension of what is already happening, if you can do it there. But of course, the big challenge over the years would be to institutionalize. Both at the national level, you need leaders with big vision, and of course, we will need at the lower level, at the governance level, situations whereby at the end of the day you say, for this function that is devolved, in your budgeting, did you put any money? How many youths have you really helped to ensure that in your county, there you can be able to take some credit, that during my time, you can even say you can start with 1,000. In 5 years, if you can say there's 1,000 youths who got into sports and they are eking out or living out of it on account of the county's effort, it would be a good start. Right. But right now, I guess, most of the counties are doing zero.
A lot of celebration on all front pages, given what Harambee Stars did yesterday by beating Zambia. They had already qualified for the quarterfinals of the CHAN tournament, but they now go into the quarterfinals as favorites, topping the league with 10 points ahead of Morocco and DRC Congo. They'll now be enjoying home advantage here, playing from Kenya as a group leaders at the Kasarani, and they'll be hosting Madagascar on the 22nd of this month. Meanwhile, Tanzania will be facing Morocco in Tanzania. Tutaona vile kutaenda huko. But it's also a moment for us to take stock about sports and how, going forward, this kind of excitement and celebration can be sustained, even in as far as creation of employment. So yes, all the best to Harambee Stars. We now come back home and discuss other issues, and I look at the dailies today. Of course, the People Daily talks about some politics. Wanasema pale, it's do or die. The two broad-based government allies to hold a joint meeting today, which has been opposed by some members as they seek to put in place a formidable team ahead of the 2027 polls. There's been that debate on whether or not ODM is in government, but today they're going to be holding a joint parliamentary group meeting at State House, Nairobi. There's, of course, a question about the younger leaders from ODM who said they will not attend, but this is definitely a game changer. It's also part of the stories we've covered here at TV 47, a precursor to the broad-based parliamentary group meeting today in State House. Let's watch that story.
First things first, we'll delve into the issues of the day. Recently, when William was speaking in Migori, I presume, he said that
Jumatatu tunakutana na wabunge wa broad-based, wabunge wa ODM na wabunge wa Kenya Kwanza, ndio tukubaliane vile hiyo kazi itaendelea mbele, tuunganishe Kenya na Kenya iweze kwenda mbele.
What do you make of this, first of all, from the facial value? What do you make of this?
From the face value, we can see a lot of deepening of the political relationship between UDA and ODM.
They are working together. All pretext has been thrown out of the window. Now they are coming up in the open, saying, look here, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we are working together. There's no more room for pretending.
Because of the coming together under this broad-based government, because of the Honorable Raila Odinga.
And this event reminds me of, I think, between 2013 and 2017, there was URP and TNA. And this was a time now when they were The members of Parliament were meeting in State House, and it culminated into the grand Jubilee Party.
What do you believe are the possible issues that are going to be discussed in this meeting?
One of the possible issues that is going to be discussed is the possibility of ODM and UDA having a coalition party.
The naysayers give us space, give us room, and judge us in 2027. And we've said this is going to remain in place up to 2027.
And most of the time when there's this kind of meeting, there are usually some discussions, internal discussions about changes in leadership, party leadership, parliamentary leadership. And most of the time it's positive for some, but for some there are ramifications. At this current point of time, there is one name that is really making the headlines in terms of opposing what is going on between Ruto and Raila, and that is the Secretary General of ODM.
The very people who ascended to power on the back of a slogan, they were running around just saying Hustler. Nobody ever understood what Hustler means. Those same people are saying we cannot do the very same and go on a slogan. What?
Finally, the lines have been drawn. They appear much clearer now. Should that be how we look at this meeting today?
Well, I think it's useful that the two of them are now coming to the realization that together they may survive. But it's not an automatic card that the two of them are going to survive just because they will cling together. Because sufficiently, Raila's gravitas on the political scene has been eroded, and therefore it does not have the kind of weight that he used to wield in the past. This therefore means that clinging together, they may have a chance to fight back, but the truth of the matter is that the rest of the country has moved on. They are thinking differently about the political landscape. It is only that in Kenya there is so much dishonesty. Today, if you hear Raila supporters, they seem to be casting aspersion on the person of Kalonzo Musyoka and the team that is the alternative to them, just because they have disagreed on that particular point. And yet, for the last 15 years, Kalonzo Musyoka has been loyal to Raila. He's allowed him to run twice as a running mate, and even the third time, he was not even the running mate. He was promised a position that does not even exist in the Constitution, but he still accepted to rally behind his supporters with the Simeo. This therefore means that when the two decided to work together, they decided without consultation on our side. That much I know. There was very little consultation, just like in the handshake. Raila did not effectively consult the Honorable Moses Wetangula, nor did he consult Musalia Mudavadi. It was a game like the game that they are now playing. This is something that I feel the best we can call them is political conmanship, because we've not allowed politics in Kenya to mature as it ought to mature elsewhere in the world. We're still doing politics of crafting coalitions around tribes, so that we fight the others. That's why today they are spending a lot of time talking about, oh, there is no superior tribe, there is no tribe like this. And yet in the last election, the tribe now they are vilifying is the tribe that allowed William Ruto to be the president. By voting 47% of all his votes he garnered came from that community. And today they are making the community look like a pariah to the political dispensation. The second issue, is, Fred, is the issue of crafting our politics around individuals so that it is Raila and Ruto. It is not about even UDA and ODM. UDA and ODM can be called another name, but as long as Raila is on one side and Ruto is on the other side, the names can change, but the two individuals shall remain permanent arrangement when it comes to that kind of crafting some kind of working relationship. What worries me is that when are we going to institutionalize our politics so that we don't talk of individuals, we talk of a system that is alternative to the other system.
Right, and we do expect that the lines will be much clearer now that ODM has accepted to have a joint parliamentary group meeting with UDA. There are definitely groups that will feel alienated. One of them is youthful leaders from ODM who oppose the broad-based arrangement led by Edwin Sifuna, Babu Owino and Caleb Amisi. On the other hand, even the Kenya Kwanza Union is not very clear on where they stand. Other members, smaller parties that are part of the coalition, are not very clear on where they stand because it's a UDA-ODM deal. Do you think that this now marks the beginning of the final run towards elections, that now it's becoming clearer and anyone who's not properly seated at the table within the broad-based arrangement, it's time for them to exit?
Well, Fred, I think it's getting clear on one side. It's getting clear on one side, getting clearer on the UDA-ODM situation is getting clearer. That gives a good challenge to the opposing side, the other side, to start making that clearer on their side as well. And I think the challenge is not too big, that the other side can also start now understanding that the teams are set. The interesting thing about all this is that you really have to decide whether Raila is a political genius or he is a very good opportunist. You have to agree, to have to decide which side you really can think about that. Because when I look at the photo of both of them sitting together and now saying, give us a chance. You know, before that they were saying, we are not in that government. Secondly, you start seeing gravitation towards that government, and now I think they're fully sitting in that government saying, now give us a chance. The naysayers, give us a chance. That was the first thing that I realized, hey, the Raila is actually now inside this thing. And then today, of course, being joint parliamentary group tells you that there is no longer fence sitting in this situation. It's actually gone. I think some kind of, it's a kind of genius in politics, but because if you take a photo now of Raila sitting, it started with Moi, sitting with Kibaki, sitting with Uhuru, and now sitting with Ruto. I mean, that's a generation of ingenuity, and it's amazing. But as we are saying all that, I don't know how sustainable it is for the community. I don't know how sustainable it is. Actually, I suspect that the political arrangement that we have now, where it is based on its mostly William Ruto now and Raila, I don't know where the other. I can even see that in Malindi, PA has kind of decided to fill the candidates. So that tells you the state of affairs on that side. But I think I worry more about now the other side that must form, because in this country we must have at least another side or two sides that are still pending so that we can go into this election properly. But I do suspect that there's a lot of investment right now in trying to solidify the government side, and I think that's a lot of investment, so that they can now decide to see how they can pass laws in Parliament. I think the idea now is to make sure that NADCO report and maybe other constitutional changes in Parliament. I think it's a matter of saying now, let's take stock of who is with us in terms of the loyalty. And I think today they'll then take the numbers and say, well, we can now just go against and pass any constitutional change if we can in Parliament. And that tyranny of numbers could actually see us beginning to amend our constitution in ways as to benefit this arrangement here. But I really hope that Kenyans are watching, and Kenyans need to know that if they want this country to move forward, we must play the politics of a democratic state. We cannot just work with people who use that tyranny of numbers. So the leadership on the other side probably need now to say, all right, so that team is set. Let's see how we set our own team.
Okay. And of course, there are those who are going to be alienated, definitely. And I don't know what kind of effect you see this having on the elections going forward, 2027. Kenya Moja, that formation that brings together younger MPs.
Yes, I agree about basically the challenge that today's meeting will have on the future politics as we go forward. But we need to situate it within our general constitutional framework in order to see what is actually going wrong with it. And in saying this, there are a couple of things that I need to observe. Number one is that Article 4 of the Constitution of Kenya declares that Kenya shall be a multi-party state based on the values under Article 10 of the Constitution. To be a multi-party state effectively means that parties will go to compete for power, and after you've gotten power, the group that wins power, in this case it was Kenya Kwanza, will govern over the next 5 years, and the group that will not win power, which may be the minority side, will be able to check the government on how it is governing over that period of 5 years. Clearly, the fact that you have now the broad-based government, it effectively means that that requirement of the constitution of lawful government is not met by the broad-based government, because you have a situation whereby ODM has taken all the minority seats effectively, or the most important ones, and Kenya Kwanza and largely UDA have the majority sides. So that at the level of political accountability, which was the main gain of multi-party democracy, Kenya is no longer being governed as a multi-party state. The BBG, a broad-based government, is for all practical purposes one-party government, because now Raila and Ruto are basically one party, who have captured all the institutions of the state, and particularly parliament, and now the rest of the people who ought to be having certain positions, like in order to be able to hold the government responsible, have nothing institutionally to be able to bring the government to account. And for me, that's a major constitutional challenge as we discuss anything else. The second issue, which is also related, is what we call the right to govern. The right to govern is given by the people. So that from the standpoint of 2022, when you do an elections and you win power, like from the standpoint of President Ruto, the issue would be that you will govern with those with whom you've been elected to complete the term. But when you read constitutional law scholars like Professor Nabweze of Nigeria and even Yashpal Gai, you realize that one of the problems of constitutional democracy of Africa has been that presidents win to power or with coalition A, but they govern the country with coalition B. Now, the history that my colleagues are giving has essentially been Raila is plan B for all the four previous presidents in recent times. And this is a perversion of the constitutional system that even constitutional scholars talk about.
Is it a perversion or really a gap that probably the framers of our constitution did not envisage? They did not see this happening, that someone identified a problem within the constitution and found a way to take advantage of this loophole?
Of course, the challenge has been that even when you challenge some of these things in court, because it's a high-stakes political game, there would be a lot of intimidation of the judiciary. For example, even the other day, I was the lawyer who went to court. The court declared Azimio the majority party. You'd have expected that, for example, Raila Odinga would institutionalize, and that is what somebody like Governor Orengo wanted. And he gave the opinion at that time, that now that the courts have declared Azimio is a majority, why don't we take our position as a majority and we govern under the constitutions? But it is obvious that because that was what we can call an Azimio victory, Raila Odinga chose to give up the Azimio victory in order to get inducements for ODM, so that it is what was sacrificed was Azimio. And even in NADCO, it is the same thing. Part of the issues of NADCO was to ensure that Azimio would be consulted. But again, Raila effectively betrayed his colleagues in Azimio and chose to contribute in the appointment of election officials that are restricted to him. And right now, they're still capturing the mandate of a NADCO report. NADCO report was not between ODM and UDA. It was supposed to be Kenya Kwanza versus Azimio. But again, you see that betrayal. And that is why the smaller parties like Pamoja, whatever, the middle ground Kenya Moja, when they are coming up, it is because we have had serial politics of betrayal, in which the purpose of a constitution is to arbitrate politics. But the Kenyan constitution is no longer arbitrating politics. Politics is being arbitrated by two individuals. And that is why the source of what we are calling the perversion. So that you say we are going to compensate people. The compensation without justice, as the Standard newspaper, I think, was saying, corpses, money being thrown to corpses. They kill your son, they give you money. Whether this is justice or not, it is clearly something wrong has gone wrong in Kenya. There is a law that has been established called the Victims Fund, and which is supposed to be run by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights to be able to govern this. But again, what are we seeing? You capture the mandate of state institutions, and in order now to play politics with issues of the day. And if you want to fight the Americans' concern that you are killing people without justification, you try to muddle the waters and appear that you had your own answer, which is not the answer contemplated or envisaged under our legal system. So there is something wrong. You need to understand it at that deep level so that now you can be able to say, how do we return our country to the correct course under the Constitution? Not a constitutional defect. It is really a situation. And that is why sometimes I keep saying, and I say in good faith, I have deep respect for Raila Odinga, that perhaps some of the break that this country may have is to have this day when Raila probably is not part of, he exits the political stage and is not part of the plan B. Because the plan B has cost, is everybody mpango wa kando. Yes. And this thing of Raila being mpango wa kando for everybody is a serious problem under our political system.
Yes, indeed, the meeting at State House today, bringing together ODM and UDA, will effectively ensure that the leader of majority and minority in both sides of both houses of parliament will be in the same meeting, in agreement with everything. And what does that mean for this country? Let's take a short break, and when we come back, Bonakiro will be delving into that.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV47 with me, Fred Indimuli. I'm still in studio with Samuel Pogisio, Kipruto Arapkirwa, and Wakili Kibe Mungai. And we're trying to examine what the broad-based parliamentary group meeting today at State House, Nairobi, will mean for this country and even for Parliament. Because, Bwana Kirwa, we see that now all the leadership, the entire leadership of Parliament will be in one meeting. Yeah. Which mainly is supposed to agree on parliamentary agenda and how they're going to vote together. Yes. Leader of majority and minority agreeing. And what effect does that have on the National Assembly and the Senate?
As put by Wakili, it is clear demonstration that it's actually one-party state. One-party state in the sense that those who are not in that particular arrangement, they are not going to be considered. And I think even during one-party state, which I participated for 3 or 2 elections, it was better because those of us who are going to run the public accounts and the public investment committee are people who are not ministers. Mm-hmm. And therefore we were seeing ministers as some kind of group away from us until you are promoted to be one of them or to be an assistant minister. But in this case, it is clear those in ODM are now the ones presiding over the Public Investment Committee and the Public Accounts Committee. This therefore means the government is trying to audit itself or to account to itself, not to the public. And it misses the point of checks and balances that is supposed to be the legislature and the executive. The second issue, as you said earlier, Fred, is that 2010 Constitution does not have a problem, because you cannot legislate bad manners. You can do all the laws, but bad manners is something that happens outside the law, because they know what they are doing actually is illegal and it is unconstitutional, but they are doing it because it gives them the political convenience that they desire, and it is making them feel good, but it's a temporary arrangement, because I still got a lot of faith in the people of Kenya that they will give us better results come the next election. But before we get there, the issue of compensation for the children who have been killed. What is the price of a child? Today, if somebody came to your house, you are poor, you don't even have food, you don't even have good shelter, and told you, I want one of your children so that I make you rich. How much would a parent give for a child? Mm-hmm. This is a question that when they were talking about it in Homa Bay during the burial of the late Phoebe Asio, I realize they are missing the point. Compensation is not reparation. Because reparation, there must be a measure of justice. And it's not insurance. Because insurance will restore you as close as possible to the state where you were before the accident took place. Now, Albert Ojwang, whether you give the father 1 million shillings or 10 million or 100 million, the son will not come back because you are supposed to be restored almost as close as possible. If it's a car, which is not write-off, you are supposed to be given as much as possible the value of the car before the accident. So they are missing the point and they are doing the wrong comparisons. There is no way you can say you are compensating people without saying what are you doing about the act of abducting, the act of killing, the act of maiming. What are you doing about that? Because that is where you need to restore justice to the country so as to allow us feel we are safe in our own country.
Okay.
But as long as you are telling us you are paying us money for our children, it is not going to be the case. And I want them to remember Raila's children, William Ruto's children. Can they imagine one of those children being killed and being given money? And there are people who sacrifice life for money, which is also another school of thought that we are not engaging at this particular time. We're engaging in a civilized society which ought to respect life, that life is beyond even wealth, is beyond property. Life is something so sacrosanct that we are not supposed to talk about it and compare it with money.
Okay.
That is not enough compensation because there is no measure of reparation about that.
Bwana Pugisio, you got the opportunity to serve as a majority leader in the Senate under the handshake arrangement. And the confusion right now is whether or not we had anticipated something like this, where Junet Mohammed, Kimani Ichung'wah, Stewart Madzayo, and Cheriot, the Senate Majority Leader, will be in one meeting agreeing on everything. And because Parliament has come under a lot of criticism because of the level of public confidence in that institution, that it's not working as it should. What does this do to the level of confidence that the public should have? Isn't this a total dilution of what Parliament should be doing?
Fred, this is generally a captured Parliament, the entire institution. It's all the way from the speakers all the way down. So it's not the same as the handshake one. You know, it's one thing. You heard a speaker saying, declaring one side majority, minority, and even without blinking, and going to there is even actually, you know, the whole idea of going to whatever you call empowerment programs as a speaker. And so this, you can tell immediately that all the speakers actually have done that. And so what do you say? I mean, you can't, that's no longer the leadership of Parliament. The backbone of that leadership has been broken. And so it's not easy to deal with this Parliament the way we would deal, or even question anything. I saw the other day the speaker throw out Wamuchomba. With very strict, I mean, very punitive terms. For whatever she said, 20 days, kick her out for 20 days and say, no, you can't go to your office, you can't do this and that. So now most of these offices really definitely will run, it's okay, but it was a very punitive thing. But the whole idea is when you have the Public Accounts Committee chairman, the public investments, and now there are many chairpersons in the same meeting, and now it's government side auditing themselves. It's government sides now who are supposed to come and ask questions to ministers. You know, how will that happen? So you'll have situations where there'll be a lot of compromising, and I think the whole idea, actually, in my view, is to get a critical mass to just run the place as though it was part of the executive. So and they're achieving it. They're achieving it because if you listen to the word minority leader in Parliament, you cannot therefore mix it with majority leader. Even just separating those words, there's no way. It's not supposed to be one enters into the other. So ideally then, if for example, Junaid Mohammed moves and starts working with the government, then the speaker should now come out and say, hey, at this rate, we must now allow for a minority to appoint another person and make that the minority leader. In this case, so they have to be very careful. They may win now because of impunity, but in future, it's going to be such a study. How did we allow that as a country? Is it that we're beaten to submission so that we cannot say anything? No. I think there'll be a serious debate on the issue. This broad-based parliamentary group, if they decide, for example, that now we are all in one government, there must be some debate on how do we rescue this parliament from being totally captured. Are we going to allow this parliament to just collapse like that?
And the speaker made some comments. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, made some comments over the weekend. It is part of the stories covered at TV47. Let's listen to this story capturing the sentiments by Speaker Moses Wetangula.
While addressing a church service in Kapsabet, Nandi County, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has said that the residents of the region need no persuasion, urging that the results of the President Ruto's leadership are already evident.
Na nyinyi kama jamii ya hapa, we are preaching to the converted. Kwa sababu nyinyi hamtaki kushurutishwa au kuambiwa enda huku, nyinyi mnajua ile njia yenye tuko na Rais Ruto.
Wetangula has further dismissed the President Ruto's critiques, describing them as self-seekers without any tangible agenda.
And remain steady. Kunaweza kuwa na mmoja wawili hapa wenye wanakunywa pombe na kupiga kelele, au hawakosi kila mahali, hata kwetu wako.
Leaders who had accompanied him, including Nandi Governor Stephen Sang, has echoed his sentiments, with Sang saying that the President Ruto has exceeded Kenya's expectation in just 2 years.
Judge him fairly by comparing what he has been able to do now and what the leaders who came before him did within the same period. Because Sahi tunaulizwa, we are being asked, why has the president not done 1, 2, 3 things like what Uhuru did in the 9th year? What Kibaki did in the 9th and 10th year is what people are asking that William should have done in 2 years.
Bungoma Senator David Wakoli said that the president's leadership is the best for Kenyans, emphasizing that it is inclusive.
Kumpa rais mara ya pili. Wakati wetu utakapofika 2032, mtatukunakuna ama mtatuambia tuende kwa ukuta?
In addition, the head of public service, Felix Kosgei, pledged that the public officers will comply with every directive issued by the National Assembly in order to effectively serve citizens.
I want to assure the speaker here ya kwamba as executive sisi tuko tayari kuhakikisha kwamba the oversight resolutions that are given by Parliament.
As political temperatures continues to rise across the country, leaders allied to government have stepped up their defense of President William Ruto's government, citing the development project he has rolled out for Kenyans. Reporting for TV47, I'm Juliet Kimoe.
Wakili, so basically we have a Speaker of the National Assembly who's made his declaration that he is definitely supporting the executive and the president. And then we have all the leadership of both sides of both houses of parliament trooping to State House. And is there any remedy to this?
Well, you really hope there would be a viable remedy. Of course, Kenyans have been resisting. for example, in the judgment by the High Court, the Speaker was criticized that during his tenure, he has effectively been able to subjugate Parliament to the wishes of Kenya Kwanza. He is completely lax and partisan, which is one of the attributes of the Speaker. Under the Constitution, Parliament is supposed to be independent and to ensure that you protect the sovereignty of the Kenyan people. To whom do you protect the sovereignty of the Kenyan people? It is largely envisaged by the law that there will be a violator. The violator is ordinarily the executive, the one who implements the law, and the ones who, for example, is likely to be involved in corruption. So that if you are running, you are the head of Parliament, but you do not consider yourself as a co-equal. For example, you have seen against the odds, Chief Justice Martha Koome trying to assert the independence of the judiciary. You do not see anything similar by either the Speaker of the Senate or the Speaker of the National Assembly. And this is why now when you talk about state capture, in practical terms, it has started with the capture of Parliament. And the main culprit who are responsible for the capture of Parliament ultimately begins with the speakers. Because as my colleagues were saying, you are the one, for example, who is supposed to ensure that there is good manners. If Kenya is to be a multi-party state, you must ensure that anybody who moves to the government side, and in fact that's why the seating arrangement is that, so that you cannot have the division, which is actually a physical division, that the same speeches are being made from both sides of the aisle. Okay, or both sides of the house. It doesn't make sense. But again, the major challenge, because the solutions moving on to the features, I've said previously, you have a situations whereby both the Speaker of the Senate and Wetangula, they are basically moral cowards, people who cannot be able to stand up for something that is right. I remember a long time ago when we were just students, and when I first of all came to know about the name of Kipruto Arap Kirwa, they would be able to speak, this is during the Moi times, to be able to point out that this is not right. And you see, and they were just mere MPs. But now when under our constitutions that even says you cannot be removed except by 75% of the MPs, and you've sold out your soul to the executive, it is something seriously lamentable and tragic. But more importantly, moving forward, Kenyans must ensure that in the elections of 2027, they work to liberate Parliament. Because one term is important, because a president who is a disaster should be removed from office. But equally importantly is that people must understand that if merely the fact that Gachagua says he supports Wamuchomba or anybody else to be the MP for Githunguri is not enough. You must ensure that you have the right person who will become an MP. For example, in Central Province, and that is where you have the biggest calamity, you have people that ordinarily we call togeges. These are people who are clueless. People like Karen Nyamu and people like this MP from Gatondo North and the other one from Madera. When they are told jump, they ask how high. People like Sabina Chege, when they are told by Farouk, dance, turn around, they turn around. You cannot have this caliber of people to Parliament. You get it? And that's why the liberation of Parliament, ultimately, it's also in the hands of the people. Because unless these institutions are run by the right caliber of people, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yet the people appear to be helpless to a huge extent. And many who had complained about the problems that we are experiencing in Parliament were hoping that probably once IEBC is in place, they would recall members of Parliament. Now there's no provision for that, and IEBC has declared this. We're already seeing what's happening to Parliament, and people are just watching and they're totally helpless. As you make your final comments, and that's why I'm asking, is there a remedy to such kind of scenario where Parliament appears totally captured by the executive and Kenyans have no way of fixing it?
Well,
as you make your final comment.
Yeah, what we need to do is what I usually refer to as social re-engineering, where society is sufficiently informed on the kind of leader that they need to have. The last time I knew a political position called msimamo is what defines a politician. If you are a politician and you do not have msimamo, you say this in the morning, in the evening you are talking another story without giving us the nexus between your earlier position and the new position, is something that I feel is not political. The second issue is the issue of patience. We must be patient. If, let's say, we are running the show towards the next election, those of us on our side, if we were to win, we remain in government for 5 years. If we were to lose, let's have the patience of remaining in the opposition for 5 years so that we allow this country to define itself in terms of political persuasion. If you are in the minority or in the opposition, accept that position. It is still a role in leadership. The final thing is I thought even this PG should not have been held in State House because you're already moving to grounds and you are ceding to one individual among the two, between the two. They should have held it at KICC. And possibly when Raila dozes off, Ruto can chair. And when he wakes up, he chairs the balance of the meeting. But I feel ODM has become a dog in the manger when it comes to this political dispensation that we are running. They pretended they have donated experts. Later on, they said, we want to stabilize the government. Now they have admitted they are fully in bed with the government of the day. They should allow the positions that are supposed to be held by minority, they cede them because they're already in the executive. That is a position that I hold.
Yes. Bonapogisio, you go next.
No, Fred, it's very interesting that we are discussing a PG, which is being held in State House, which of course is really our people's house. Even under one-party system, by the way, all PGs were held at KICC or in Parliament. So this is just a new thing that started recently, that you use the State House to hold PGs. I'm of the opinion, a considered opinion, that to rescue this country from this kind of things, it is the other side that must be stronger. There is a nexus, there is an opportunity for those who are not in the broad-based to actually form a formidable side as well. And also, the people who are human rights oriented, the people who believe in democracy in this country, whether they are in the political system or outside the political system, can now begin to debate these issues in the country and put pressure, because I mean, we cannot allow this to be the normal way of doing things in this country. Our constitution is being amended as we go without due process, literally. And these are all people who fought for this constitution. I mean, William Ruto, on his side, also fought for this constitution. Raila Odinga was very famous for this constitution. And now, in a way, they're working, they're avoiding the situation. They're cancelling some things and saying Parliament can actually go back to one-party system. These are the people who committed their life. I mean, Raila Odinga is one of the guys who really fought for the second liberation of this country. So anyway, I just want to say this in conclusion. Let there be a meeting, or whatever they want to call it. If they want to be on one side, we will then be saying, let the country be watchful of these things. It's going to affect the way now of the whatever report, but it's also going to affect the next election. And if you're concerned about the next election, this is a time to begin to fight for democracy in this country, put our constitution back to order.
All right, and a correction is that the meeting will actually take place at the KCB Leadership Center in Nairobi, and not at State House, Nairobi. But either way, all the entire leadership of Parliament will be there, and probably even supporters of the broad-based arrangement. We include members who come from the Speaker's party, Ford Kenya. That in itself has serious ramifications for this nation. Going forward, apart from waiting for the 5 years to lapse for Kenyans to correct Lack of an opportunity for us to recall our members of parliament means that even if there's a regime change and another system comes in, they can still fall into the same trap.
Yes, but I like the spirit of the Gen Z, which is basically that we cannot allow the country to go to the dogs and keep silent. So the issue of the legality of the BBG government, I think that needs to be addressed, and I believe some efforts would be made towards that end amongst certain groups of advocates that I'm a member. There is also the question that moving forward and politically, we need to exert some pressure on Raila Odinga and together with other legacy politicians, because the issue is you did very well for this country in the past and you did well to fight for the current constitution. But you cannot have a situation whereby after having all this good to the country, you are the chief obstacle to progress. Politically, in my view, it is ultimate bad manners. You must decide, and there are clear provisions of law. You must decide to be a wife or a mistress. Mm-hmm. The position of a mistress under our legal arrangements is not permitted, whereby you decide that after you've gone to the position to decide whether you are going to be married on this side of the political divide or on the other side, in between, you decide that you are going to play the role of a mistress and you get everything messed up. I think that at personal level, at the issue of personal integrity, is an issue that needs to be addressed. And finally, is that there is still a lot of hope in Kenya. And I do not see this complicity and the kind of agenda that they are trying to work out really going very far. This writer called Dennis Kabara, the political commentator, was writing an article 2 or 3 weeks ago in which he was showing that approximately 27 to 30, there will be 27 to 30 million voters in Kenya in 2027. And at least 17 million is likely to be amongst the people who are Gen Zs. Therefore, it is my view that the current conspiracy that will be done at the current are based on the realities of Kenya, based on age groups and prejudices that may not be current when you come to 2027. Therefore, the challenge to me is that those young people to whom the future belongs to must ensure when all these legacy politicians come together, you get a way to ensure that you have the decisive vote and you get rid of them both at Parliament, County Assembly, and particularly to address the problem of a disaster presidency in Kenya.
Right. It is do or die. Two broad-based government allies, Raila Odinga and President William Ruto, will hold a joint meeting today with their parliamentarians, which has been opposed by some members as they seek to put in place a formidable team ahead of 2027 polls. That meeting will be held at the KCB Leadership Center. It is part of the big discussion. What happens? Has Parliament been completely captured by the executive, and what that would mean for the remaining 2 years of this Parliament? Thank you so much. Wakili Kibe Mungai, constitutional lawyer, Samuel Pogisio, who was Senate Majority Leader in the 12th Parliament, and Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who served as Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki 1 administration. Asanteni sana for your very well-considered opinions on these matters. And yes, Harambee Stars still the biggest discussion against all odds. That's the biggest headline on the front page of the Daily Nation. It is there on the front page of the Standard. Harambee Stars beat Zambia to top group. And most dailies, yes, do have Harambee Stars on the front page with something different, something positive, and it's going to form also the biggest conversation after the break. Monday Blitz coming up with Katela Macy. She'll be having Fred Arocho and other panelists discussing this. Harambee Stars, following that win, now will get to enjoy home advantage in their next match against Madagascar. Meanwhile, Morocco travel to Tanzania, and what that means going forward. That and a lot more on Monday Blitz after the break. My name is Fred Ndemuli. Good morning.